Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, Frankenstein, the 1818 text. Dive into A Frankenstein, the 1818 text, by Mary Shelley, a pioneering blend of horror and early science fiction that is as thought-provoking as it is chilling. This gripping tale introduces you to Victor Frankenstein, a man whose insatiable quest for knowledge leads to a catastrophic series of events that blurs the line between life and death. As you navigate through this summary, you'll explore themes of ambition, loneliness, and the ethical responsibilities of creation. Shelley's novel is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked scientific exploration and the consequences of neglecting moral considerations. With its layered storytelling and complex characters, Frankenstein offers a reflective look at what it means to be human and the unintended repercussions of playing God. Prepare yourself for an engaging journey into a world where ambition, science, and ethical dilemmas collide with devastating outcomes.
The tragic ambition. Victor Frankenstein's tragic tale unfolds through the eyes of an eager explorer, Robert Walton, who writes to his sister about his own quest to the North Pole. Isolated by the vastness of ice and sea, Walton's voyage takes a dramatic turn when he discovers a frail, disoriented man on the brink of death. Upon rescuing this stranger, Walton learns he is Victor Frankenstein, whose life story is intertwined with unrestrained ambition and the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. Victor's childhood in Geneva is marked by privilege and affection, particularly toward his adopted sister, Elizabeth, and his best friend, Henry. From an early age, a fascination with natural philosophy and ancient alchemists captivates him. A powerful lightning storm ignites his curiosity about electricity, setting the stage for his future endeavors. The untimely death of his mother propels Victor to Ingolstadt, Germany, where he immerses himself in scientific studies, captivated by the mysteries of life and death. Fueled by relentless determination, Victor's obsession with scientific greatness leads him to uncover the secret of life itself. His quest, however, is not without severe consequences, as he soon abandons his family, lost in the labyrinth of his own discoveries. The narrative structure of Victor's story reflects the ambience of communal storytelling, a craft inspired by Mary Shelley's formative experiences. Written during a stormy Swiss summer surrounded by literary figures like Percy Bysshe Shelley and Lord Byron, Shelley's novel echoes the shared horror tales of those nights. The narrative layers are rich with voices. Robert Walton recounts Victor's spoken confessions, intertwined with letters from Victor's family, and eventually, we hear from the creature himself. Each retelling adds depth to this archetypal horror story, laced with Gothic and Romantic influences of Shelley's era. Yet, the tale's groundbreaking fusion of science with horror heralds the advent of a literary genre, science fiction. Victor Frankenstein's legacy is a narrative of ambition without limits, exploring humanity's deepest challenges as he vows to discover and reveal creation's most profound secrets. The Perils of Ambition. Victor Frankenstein is consumed by a secret project, devoting himself entirely to creating life. His grim determination unnerves his family, as he becomes increasingly pale and sickly. On a stormy November night, his grand experiment succeeds. His creature, pieced together from dead parts chosen for their beauty, springs to life. But what should have been Victor's triumph turns into horror. Faced with the creature's hideous form, he flees, leaving his creation abandoned. While wandering the city, Victor encounters his old friend Henry, who helps him recover from the shock. During this time, Victor receives news that Justine Moritz, once part of his household, has returned, and soon after, that his youngest brother, William, has been murdered. Victor rushes back to Geneva, tormented by the sight of his sister Elizabeth's grief and burdened with his own guilt when he spots the creature lurking nearby. He becomes convinced that his monstrous creation is the murderer, but townspeople accuse Justine. Despite Victor's attempts to intervene, fears drive her to confess, leading to her execution. Victor grapples with overwhelming guilt and the haunting realization that, in his pursuit of scientific glory, he neglected those he loved and failed to foresee the monster's destructive potential. The story of Frankenstein serves as a stark warning about the seductive power of ambition unchecked by moral foresight. Victor's reckless pursuit not only estranges him from his own humanity, but also wreaks havoc on the lives of his family. As Victor reflects on the chaos unleashed by his hands, the question remains whether he can rectify the damage or if he's doomed to suffer under the weight of his choices. The monster's journey. Victor Frankenstein finds himself drowning in despair after the deaths of William and Justine. In an attempt to lift his spirits, his father suggests revisiting their family home in the serene landscapes of Switzerland. But amid the natural beauty, Victor faces his worst nightmare, the reappearance of the monster he created. Confronted on the Mont Blanc glacier, Victor embodies rage and threatens his creation to no avail. The creature, using persuasive eloquence, urges Victor to fulfill his responsibility as a creator. Over a fire in an icy cavern, the monster opens up to Victor, sharing the vivid memories of its tragic existence. It speaks of the initial confusion and terror following its birth and the loneliness that has accompanied its journey ever since. After fleeing Victor's apartment, the monster's life has been dominated by survival instincts, overcoming freezing cold, hunger, and rejection. Any human it approaches, filled with fear, bolts away. With time and tenacity, the creature learns to make fire and begins to sustain itself by stealthily taking food from an unsuspecting family. Overcome by guilt, the monster attempts to aid the family by collecting firewood. Growing attached to this family, which includes Felix, Agatha, and their blind patriarch de Lacy, the monster devours their conversations, learning their language as a foreign woman named Safi joins their ranks. Through this voyeuristic education, the monster gains insight into human affairs and history. The discovery of a bag of books further deepens the monster's burgeoning complexity. Reading John Milton's Paradise Lost, the creature, unaware of its fictional nature, intensely identifies with the themes of fall and exile. It is haunted by its hideousness and the unnatural means of its creation. Desperate to belong, the monster devises a plan to introduce itself to de Lacy, hoping his blindness will bypass its monstrous visage. However, this plan is thwarted when Felix, Agatha, and Safi arrive, succumbing to panic at the sight of the monster, and drive it away. Stung by the most severe rejection yet, the monster's despair morphs into vengeful fury. It resolves to exact retribution on humanity, and more specifically on Victor. This vow brings it to Geneva, where it unwittingly encounters Victor's younger brother, William, in the woods. In the throes of a violent outburst, the monster ends William's life upon learning of his Frankenstein lineage. Mary Shelley's novel masterfully provides depth to Victor's creation by lending it a voice, one that is articulate and deeply introspective. Far from being an unthinking menace, the monster yearns for acceptance and displays profound empathy. Yet it is tragically bound by its horrifying exterior, which blinds humans to its genuine longing for connection. This relentless cycle of fear and abandonment propels the creature toward violence. Despite explaining its plight to Victor, hoping for understanding, its appeals remain unheeded, a theme the story continues to unravel. The monster's solitude and suffering question the human heart. How must the miserable be perceived by a world that abhors the unfortunate? Creator's reckoning. Imagine standing face to face with your deepest regret, and it demands a solution, companion to chase away its loneliness and perhaps curb its violent outbursts. This is the predicament where Victor Frankenstein finds himself. His creation, a once innocent monster, is pleading for a partner, promising peace in exchange. Initially, Victor shuns the idea, overwhelmed by his grief over the deaths of William and Justine and preoccupied by his upcoming marriage to Elizabeth. Yet, the weight of a promise hangs around his neck, urging him to fulfill this dark duty first. Victor seeks a semblance of solace through a planned 2-year journey across Britain, hoping to gather whatever knowledge is necessary for creating this monster bride. Accompanied by his loyal friend Henry, they traverse the landscapes until reaching a secluded town in Scotland. There, Victor leaves Henry in safe hands and isolates himself on an austere island in the Orkneys. Within a makeshift lab housed in a humble shack, he plunges into the grim task ahead, not driven by excitement but horror. Every fiber of his being revolts against the potential spawn of this new being, a potential race of devils. When the task nearly completes, Victor glances up to catch a sight that chills him, a sinister grin from the monster through the window. In that moment, clarity strikes, revealing the gravity of unleashing another creature upon the world. Seized by a surge of moral queasiness, Victor obliterates his nascent creation. The monster's wrath is palpable, but it does not strike. Instead, it leaves Victor with an ominous warning: it will return on Victor's wedding night. Within this Gothic narrative unfolds a poignant commentary on the responsibilities of creation. Here, the creature implores Victor to recognize his role, but Victor primarily sees hideousness and fear, leading him to break his vow. The monster's descent into genuine evil is catalyzed by Victor's failure to accept and nurture his creation, demonstrating the peril of forsaking one's responsibilities. This tale underlines a haunting truth: by denying duty, Victor unknowingly fans the flames of retribution and tragedy. Shadows of Creation. Filled with remorse and longing for redemption, Victor Frankenstein stands at a pivotal moment of his life, deeply entangled in the catastrophic aftermath of his ambitious pursuits. Victor's obsession began with the creation of life, a breakthrough that initially filled him with boundless hope and triumph. Yet, this very act sowed seeds of irreversible despair, not only in Victor's life but also among those he once loved dearly. In a desperate bid to erase the looming threats posed by his own creation, Victor resolves to destroy the female creature he had begun constructing. With broken dreams and remnants in tow, he sets off to dispose of his failed experiment at sea. Exhaustion and a brush with serendipity see him back to land, only to be met with hostile accusations of murder. Henry, his dear friend, has been killed, and suspicion falls squarely on Victor, as townspeople claim they saw a boat like his on the fateful night. Confronted with the gruesome evidence of black marks on Henry's neck, Victor himself falls to shock and illness, spiraling into a prison cell. As the clouds temporarily part with his trial's outcome favoring his innocence, Victor returns to Geneva, where Elizabeth awaits with eager hope. Yet, foreboding shadows of the monster's warning darken his thoughts. The impending wedding brings a tide of anxiety Victor cannot silence. The haunting night becomes a theater of tragedy as Elizabeth's scream pierces the deceptive lull. The monster's deadly promise unravels, aimed at Elizabeth, not him. In the wake of Elizabeth's death, grief compounds as Victor loses his father to the same enduring sorrow. With his family torn apart, Victor's course becomes singular: seek out and obliterate his malignant creation. This pursuit leads him into the icy northern wilderness, where his fate intersects with explorer Walton and his crew. Here, death encroaches upon Victor. Paramount with regret, he urges Walton to persist in the hunt. Yet, Walton must heed the survival cries of his crew over grandiose adventure, leading to a somber return to England. Before departure, the mournful stillness is interrupted by the monster's presence, grieving at Victor's lifeless form. The creature, revealing its own tale of suffering, remorse, and unmet desires for love, confesses an intent to embrace the void left by its creator's demise. With a poignant farewell to Walton, the monster disappears into the icy expanse. Frankenstein is a haunting exploration into the abyss of unchecked ambition and ethical neglect in science. Victor's isolation, birthed from his pursuit of glory, marks the total disintegration of his world, tragic collateral in the quest for unattainable power. His refusal to learn from his downfall and his relentless gamble with human limits make Victor a haunting echo of what it means to lose sight of humanity in the mirror of creation. In his final hours, Victor embodies the very monster he despises. Devoid of empathy, he becomes the architect of his own end. In the echoes of his reflection, "I shall die, and what I now feel be no longer felt," lie the chilling acceptance of his fate and the everlasting silence that follows unchecked desires.
In Frankenstein, Mary Shelley crafts a narrative that serves as a timeless cautionary tale about the perils of unchecked ambition and scientific exploration devoid of ethical considerations. Through Victor Frankenstein's tragic journey, we see how his obsession cripples not only his own life but also the lives of those around him. His monstrous creation, born from scientific hubris, reflects how rejection and isolation can drive a being to darkness. Ultimately, the novel underscores the importance of responsibility, as Victor's failure to assume responsibility for his creation leads to irrevocable tragedy. As you reach the conclusion of this summary, consider the profound implications Shelley's tale holds for our modern world, where the fusion of science and ethics remains as crucial as ever. Frankenstein serves as a morbid yet essential reminder of the responsibilities creators hold toward their creations, and the catastrophic consequences of neglecting them.